Welcome to the SowGrow Marketing Council podcast. The SowGrow Marketing Council is a membership organization comprised of growing marketers who want to stay ahead of developments in multiple areas of marketing. This podcast features recordings of SowGrow Marketing Council meetings. Tune in to hear expert marketers share tips and discuss the latest strategies and tools in marketing. To join the next meeting and be part of the discussion yourself, visit SowGrowPR.com. That's SowGrowPR.com and click on the Marketing Council tab. Let's get growing. Welcome to the SowGrow Marketing Council. We are so excited to have a lineup of expert marketers who are going to share tips from their particular marketing discipline. So we meet every month, and again, these are executive level marketers who are experts in their industry. And the purpose of this meeting is to learn from each other. We all swim in our little lanes of marketing, and sometimes it's hard to know what's going on in multiple different areas of marketing. And that's what makes this group so unique, is that we are able to stay up to speed on what's going on in all these different areas of marketing. And we are able to rely on everybody else to be able to share their expertise with us so that we're able to better serve our clients. And as we talk about, this is also a great opportunity for you guys to network within this group as well. It's such a great group of people. I know I've worked with so many of you guys for years. And so I recommend you guys, have coffee with each other, go have meetings, and just get to know each other, because this is a great opportunity for us to even share business. If somebody needs, let's say, branding support, they probably also need legal support, like from Richard, or video support from Dan, or Virginia. They may need some branding, storytelling, and things like that. So, it's a great opportunity for us to just be able to share business as well. So we will have the experts who signed up share about a 4-minute tip, and Sarah will just let you know if you're getting close to time. And then this is different than your typical webinar meeting. This is a participatory group. And so after the 4-minute tip, we'll have 1 or 2 minutes to be able to have comments and questions. And sometimes the best tips come out of the discussions that we have after. So do not be shy. This is not a thing where you sit back and just listen. We definitely want you guys to participate. And when you do share your tip, please do say your name and your company and your area of expertise so that we know who you are. And also the people that are listening on the podcast will know who you are as well. And if you guys want to go ahead and put your name and information in the chat, feel free to do that. So that way, if somebody is like, oh, I need to talk to Dan or Kriston or Virginia or Richard or whoever, we can go ahead and, and I think I saw Trenton log on. There you are. I saw Trenton as well. You guys can grab their information and be able to just network with them and contact them. All right. And then if you guys would like to present at a future meeting, you guys can go ahead and submit a tip. And I'm going to put that link in the chat as well. And then also be sure to sign up for our next meeting next month. We meet the third Tuesday of every month. And the next meeting is Tuesday, May 20th. And like I said, we log on at 9:50ish just to kind of network and hang out and get ready. And then we start at 10 a.m. Eastern. And then also there's a link in the chat for the podcast. Please do sign up for the podcast. We do put these meetings on the podcast so that other people can learn from you guys as well. And so we would love to grow that and have some more followers on the podcast. All right, so I am going to go ahead and turn it over to Virginia, and she is going to introduce herself and share a tip today. And then Kriston and Richard and Dan, if you guys want to share a tip. And Trenton, do you have a tip? Because we keep asking you to present a tip. So if you don't have one this month, I want you to come next month. So I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you have a tip this month, or are you going to bring it next month?
Next month.
Next month. All right, you heard it, people. We're getting a tip from Trenton next month. So, all right, Virginia, you want to go ahead and start us off?
Yes. So thank you, Stephanie. My name is Virginia Nava Hieger. I'm the CEO of Transformative Power. And one of the things that I've been really interested in is how to manage engagement, So these days there's 20 million people seeing 20 million ads. There's so much information overload. And so the way in which I've been kind of answering that question is by professionally develop myself. So I would kind of share a little bit behind the scenes of a marketer instead of in front, of the scenes. So behind the scenes of a marketer, I'm currently taking some courses on neuroscience and neuromarketing. And also I'm reading the book, again, Atomic Habits, but from the perspective of marketing. And there is I guess there's different ways to, how do you motivate somebody, right? So whether it's a sales team that you're motivating, because, as a marketer or as a founder or whatever you are, right? You don't have control of the message all the way out. So we don't live in the era of magazines and you just put the message and whatever and that's it. So in social media, people have control of the message because they start moving the message out and giving their perspective. So I've been studying the science of rewards. And so how can you as a company utilize the science of rewards? And even, in the publishing industry, some people now launch books without launching a whole book. They might launch one chapter of a book and then have the clients engage with the book, engage with the company. So the launching of things has been totally transformed by the science of rewards, and the business models have been transformed by the science of rewards by utilizing, for example, communities as an add-on to a company. So one of the things that I guess I pose as a question, right, as marketers and business leaders is, have you asked yourself if your company or your business model is too one-sided? And are you utilizing rewards as a way to create engagement? So for example, and rewards are not, when I mention communities, you will be like, okay, how is community reward? And then, so now these days, people don't only want rewards like a badge or, you are in the fan club or whatever. People want to be part of the community. And if you want to kind of search like examples, for example, I recently went to Bananas, that it was a banana, whatever is that new baseball team. And then what they do is they bring in the client as the centerpiece of their brand. And it's so incredible, the brand that they got, that it's actually multi-generational. And I never seen that before. I never seen someone so successfully do a multi-generational brand. And it is through the science of rewards. So I will encourage you to really study neuroscience, study neuromarketing, and study the science of rewards, because otherwise your engagement will be really low.
That's great, Virginia. I think that's such a relevant topic. And I feel like when I got into PR 20 years ago, a lot of marketing is very fear-based, where it was like, here are the 5 things you need to know or your business will implode in a year. It was just very, very fear-based. And I feel like that just is not as effective, like you're saying. And so it seems like things have just really moved more towards that positive aspect of things. So what do you guys think?
The points about rewards is interesting, and it made me think of something. Instagram is getting ready to do something where like they lock content behind like a screen, and you have to have a code, and it's that whole like, oh, people have to get the code so they're in the club, and then like they can click and see the content, and it's that whole like adding a level of suspension or, suspense for like getting engagement. So it kind of reminded me of that. But the multi-generational, I love that idea as well.
Dan, you had a thought?
Yeah, because we work with entrepreneurs and professionals mostly, and I'm so hyper aware of this and thankful for it, we have a before and after element to what it is that we do. So there's often inspiration as opposed to fear. Now, there's always fear because it's video and there's always going to be some level from 1 to 100. But I see a lot more of like, oh, whoa, you can go from that to that. I might be able to do that too. And inspiration's harder to do through text or storytelling or whatever, even though we do all those things as well. Sometimes just being able to see what's possible is really powerful. And then the thing I always like to encourage all of our clients and stuff is like, you might not have a visual before and after, but think in terms of before and after and dig through everything you do have to try to present something so someone can put themselves in their after shoes.
Yeah, that's great because that is that positive, like, hey, you were here and look at how great this can be versus like a fear-based what you're going to miss. So I love that. That's so great. Awesome. Any other
So
thoughts? Go ahead, Trenton.
no, like I want to piggyback off of Dan because what we do as well with our clients as far as rewards. Now beforehand to create rewards for engagement, we don't really have a platform. But for our clients, what we like to do, like he said, before and after, we like to bring in behind the scene pictures and videos of the work in progress. And so once the project is done, we send out some behind the scenes video of the video in making of, or what took to get here, and then they see the after. But the client, now they're taking with their marketing team, okay, this is what I've done, this is what we've been working on, stay tuned for XYZ. So that's pretty much a kind of a reward base that we do with our clients that helps for engagement.
Yeah, I think people love to see the process of how something comes about. I think that just makes a brand so much more human, and it shows all the effort that goes into it rather than just like this pretty thing that just appeared, right? I think that's a really good point. Awesome. Very good. Any other thoughts or questions for Virginia? That was a great topic. I love the idea about releasing a book in stages. I'm curious about that too. I'd love to talk to Anita about that, who the author's midwife, who sometimes comes to these meetings. So that would be an interesting marketing strategy. Kriston, did you have a thought?
I just saw an ad on TV for Clorox, and it was like my favorite ad I've seen in a long time. And it was talking about happiness, and they were testing happiness in someone's brain. And they had the person play video games, do some other things, and then actually clean a toilet. And the level of happiness when they were done cleaning the toilet was higher than when they were playing video games and doing these other things. And it was amazing. Like my husband and I were talking about it. I'm like, this is it. This is why I do what I do, because we want to do positive and good things. And you really do feel good when you clean your toilet, when it's done. So anyway, I just thought that was amazing. And so there's proof, the Clorox commercial. If I could find it, I would send it to you.
That's so interesting. Dan, you had a thought?
Man, I was thrown off by the toilet thing. I like a clean toilet. Absolutely. Yeah.
You can come clean my house anytime.
What were we talking about? I got so enthralled in that because I had a tiny little
Talk about the
tidbit.
rewards, and Trent was talking about the videos and showing the process.
I might have forgotten. Sorry, guys.
It's okay. You can jump back in. If you have your thought, just raise your hand again and we'll jump back to you.
Oh, releasing things a little bit at a time.
Oh, the book.
There it is. Thank you.
There it is.
Yeah.
Up, Sarah.
I just like saying this in front of really smart people because I hope someday to actually be able to execute on this at some point. I happen to know a fair amount of authors just who, through their entrepreneurial journeys, have written books and stuff like that. And I know a couple people who their businesses are on the like kind of more publishing side and stuff. And I've been saying it out loud, just hoping someone would do it or maybe come around and ask us to help them do it. I would love, it doesn't matter what it is, a QR code or whatever, books always give out some tools along with the book or whatever, where someone can just scan it at the end of a chapter and you just get a video of the author saying, when I wrote that chapter, I was thinking about one thing and it took a left turn and I totally ended up over here. And it really changed this part of my life. And I hope you got something out of it too. And you could just see their thoughts about what they were thinking as they wrote that piece. So you could just kind of like get to know them as you read the book. So I always tell smart people that just in case anyone ever executes on it.
That's such a
I
great,
love that.
like the author's going with you. It's like you've got a companion. That's cool. I'm sorry, Sarah, you were going to say something?
No, I just love that idea. That's like, because whenever you're really into a story, you always want to know more, right? So like you start digging for any videos of behind the scenes and all those type of things. So like being able to look at what the author was thinking would be really cool.
So Dan, we need to introduce you to Anita Henderson. She is a marketer, but she's called the author's midwife, and she basically holds people's hands through the entire book process. And so you guys may be able to work out something where, you guys do some work like that for some of her clients. That would be such a great addition to her books. I think that would be great. So remind you, we'll have to connect you guys. All right. Okay. So next up, Kriston, would you like to share your tip and then we'll jump to Richard?
Sure. Good morning. My name is Kriston Sellier, and I'm president of Ideate. And I love this movie, Nacho Libre. It's old. And the scene where Jack Black has these pants on, and I think the lady's like, those are fancy pants. And he's like, these are my stretchy pants. And he does this. And this is a perfect image to represent what I'm going to talk about today. And it's about branding being more flexible. And so today I'm going to share 3 tips on how to build flexibility into brands. So think of a brand more like stretchy pants and not like a lead pipe. So number one, the first tip is to create a brand set. So with professional, long-lasting logos, and many, many parts, that logo can be intangible, and the conceptual thinking and creativity. And so I'm not talking about taking the conceptual idea of the brand and changing that. What I'm talking is creating pieces and parts of the brand so that it can extend. So there may be in your brand set, icon only, icon with words, a horizontal orientation, a vertical orientation, a square one in color, one in black and white, an acronym. So there is a set of brand logos and variations that can be utilized in different channels. So it's kind of like deconstructing and reconstructing the brand based on the channel, the ideal way it should look in a channel. And then determine a simple set of rules for when each of these logos can be used and what their ideal platform or channel is. Tip number two, create a brand kit. A brand isn't a set it and forget it kind of business asset. It's a hard working element that's got that gets used multiple times a day, every day. So let's give the marketers, the sales teams, and operation teams a toolkit that they can use. So Canva, although as a designer, we almost don't like it, marketers are using Canva on a regular basis. And Canva, unfortunately, Adobe didn't do this. Canva did it first, has a brand kit. So in the Canva brand kit, it can be set up for specific fonts, specific logos, PNGs with versions with transparent backgrounds, color palettes, and secondary brand elements that can support that brand. And so that brand kit allows a little bit more control to maintain the brand integrity and also gives the flexibility of that brand to be used in different outputs like a website, a printed brochure, or even a screen printed t-shirt. So create a brand kit. Tip number three is to create easy to use templates. When a brand goes into the wild, that's what we call it when you see it out in the public space, there's a tendency after about 6 months or so to get bored. And team members may want to change something, add some new colors and new fonts, and create new logos when they should not be doing that at all. So instead of that, if the marketer helps to create templates and standards in many ways, it gives the team the tools to be able to create consistent branding. And then all the person needs to do is go in and change what it says and add new pictures. So this allows the marketer, and again, this is a tool in Canva. You can create family templates, brochures, flyers, ads, marketing pieces. And then once that template is set up, then it allows the people who are using that platform to just focus on the content and the imagery that's going to support that idea. And so these three tips will help build brand equity over the long haul. And that's my tip for today.
That's great, Kriston. And I think this also shows the importance of not just setting it and forgetting it and having your branding like, okay, I've got my logo, everything looks pretty now. But I know when you engage with clients, you guys go with them for the life of the brand. And you guys are there when their team wants to say, hey, we need to change the logo, or we need to tweak this, or we need to do that. And you can come along and guide them and be like, okay, well, we don't need to touch the logo, but hey, we can maybe shake up the social media post a little bit and maybe add, something different there within the brand family. So I think that just thinking in terms of, like, hey, you don't just get a logo and then leave it for years until you rebrand the whole thing, but just as you're saying, like the flexibility within that, but also maintain the consistency. I think a lot of companies need long-term support with that, and they don't always do it themselves. So I see, Dan, your hand is up.
Yeah, man, everything you just said is fantastic, especially if you're a smaller business that can pivot and move quickly, like take advantage of that. We open our brand guidelines every week, and one of the things I was going to quickly mention is we'll actually open it to inspire us to create social. Because it's like, okay, we got this, we got that, what components, we haven't mixed it this way yet, whatever. And it's just kind of a way to like, you know what we could do? And then of course the elements are right there. So love a good brand guide.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's helpful to keep everybody focused so you don't get too far off, right? Awesome. Other thoughts and questions for Kriston?
I think it's so important what you're saying, Kristen. And I'm taking this neuromarketing class, and it was super interesting in the neuromarketing class. They were showing that one of the challenges we have as branders is that people like use market research to evaluate the effectiveness of something. So they will ask a customer, did it affect you to see a campaign to make your decision or whatever? So they did a study, and then people will say, no, it didn't affect me. But then they did a neuroscience study in, say, a supermarket of somebody selecting a product prior to seeing campaigns from the product. And when they show the signs, the areas of the brain that made the person select the product, the areas of the brain of the person who actually has seen a campaign prior to the product were activated. And I think what you're saying, right, and consistency is not just, I think the thing that I think, because we don't use neuroscience tools to evaluate the effectiveness of the value of a brand, we think it's kind of like, oh, it's nice, and then let's just change this instead of understanding the brand value of color, of architecture, of design, of a structure. So you might find that really, I don't know, like I can share with you later the name of the stuff, but I found it really interesting that I think one of the key problems we have is that people don't use neuroscience to evaluate the results and the impact of consumer behavior. So what you're saying is super important. So thank you.
Right. And it's so important to be able to communicate that to clients, right? Because they need to understand that even though you may not always be able to say the exact moment that something had an impact, it did. And so being able to communicate that to clients, I think is really important as well. So that's great. Awesome. Thank you. All right. So we are going to go to Richard. Now, full disclosure, Richard is not technically a marketer, but we love having him in the group because we all need him. And he is a intellectual property attorney. And so we feel like his area of expertise is so important to everything that all of us do in marketing. And so we are so excited to have Richard introduce himself and share a tip today.
Thanks, Stephanie. I have a visual, but I don't have any Jack Black or stretchy pant pictures, so I'm not gonna. I'll let everyone realize immediately I'm not into the visuals and creative and that sort of space. But today, based on some feedback I've received in the past, I'd like to talk about intellectual property and specifically who owns intellectual property. I think it confuses a lot of people about who actually owns something at the end of the day. Now, in our world, we're talking primarily about copyright and trademark. And to make it a little bit more simple, copyright is arts. Trademark or brands or things that people use to identify their company from others. So for copyright, we're talking about original works of authorship, books, music, art, videos, maybe a press release. Those are all examples of copyright. Trademark is an actual brand that's being used by a company in the marketplace. So that would be the McDonald's M logo, the Starbucks logo, the name Starbucks itself. All these things are meant to identify a company specifically from all of its competitors. Now, when you're looking at ownership, it's really important to start at the beginning. Who is the original owner of this item that you've created? Because that will determine who could later be an owner or not be an owner. With copyright, the person who creates that individual thing, that video, maybe the SowGrow marketing icon that's up in the upper left-hand corner, whoever created that was the original owner. That's the baseline rule. We'll talk about an exception in 1 second. In copyright, it's the company that's actually using the brand, who's actually going out their marketplace and putting it on their website, putting it on the side of their building, putting it on their trucks or wherever these logos might be, or these company names, etc. So creation does not matter in trademark. And for that purpose, we can kind of eliminate that in this room because we're creative people here. And when we're talking about the intellectual property that we are creating for our clients, we are creating copyrights by and large. We're not using their logos for them. We're creating their logos for them to use. So even when we're dealing with logos, we're dealing with the copyright elements of the logo. So the original owner with a copyright is the person that creates it. The original owner of a trademark is the person who's using it in commerce. Now, a lot of people ask me about this work made for hire rule. Isn't it true that if I do something for someone that they immediately own it? So your client hires you to, we'll use Stephanie for a second, to have some sort of a promotional piece to put out to different publications out there, mention an award they received or something like that. That is a piece of copyright, but Stephanie wrote that for her client. So doesn't the client own it? The answer is no, by and large, unless it falls under the work made for hire rule. It's an arcane rule, it's a weird rule, and let me tell you, almost never applies. And I'll tell you why right now. Work made for hire, first of all, if your employee creates something, you own it. So if Kriston, for example, hires Jess on her team to create these various things for her clients, Kriston and Ideate more specifically owns it because Jess is an employee of Ideate. So since Jess is doing the thing as an employee that she's been asked to do, Ideate owns it, not just the individual. So that's one of the work made for hire that does function quite a bit, but doesn't really apply to the situations we're talking about where we're contracted by someone. So for independent contractors, there's two weird hoops you have to leap through to be able to fall under the work made for hire. First of all, you have to have a written agreement between the two parties before this work begins, and the words work made for hire or work for hire must be in them. Second, and here's the real gotcha, it has to be in one of 9 categories. And these categories are weird. Let me tell you, weird. I'm going to read them just to show you how weird they are. A contribution to collective work, that might exist sometimes. A part of a motion picture or audiovisual work, a translation, a supplemental work like a foreword or afterword to a book, a compilation, instructional text, tests, answer materials for tests, or atlases. Weird categories. So our branding materials, our things that we're making do not fall in these categories. And by and large, we can just ignore the work made for hire rule. So now we're in a situation where this item that we create for our client is owned by us. So we're stuck, right? Of course we're not stuck. Oh, by the way, here is a flow chart. You want to see it later of how the work made for hire rule looks. And if you think more flow chart, so employees, the employer almost always owns it. If it's an independent contractor, you have 2 yeses you have to get to before you get to the point where the employer owns it. Or excuse me, the person who commissioned it owns it. So you can transfer your ownership. You can, by assignment, assign your rights over to someone else. And I see a lot of the best contracts I see in the creative space is it says something along the lines of, this item I'm creating for you is a work made for hire. And to the extent it's not a work made for hire, I hereby assign it to you. So one way or the other, through the belt or through the suspenders, at the end of the day, the project is getting complete and the person who paid for it is owning it. You can also record these assignments with the government. Finally, if you don't like to transfer entire ownership, you can always license it. You know, if you're going to give someone a limited right to use something, you can do that. We prefer it as lawyers to be a written license. But you can even have an express license, hey, or an implied license. I'll let you do this for this weekend or whatever. So there's a few tips and gotchas. The big takeaway is almost everything you create for your clients will be owned by you unless you do something in writing that changes that.
So helpful. Thank you for the visuals on that too. I think that really helps clarify a lot of that. So let's say there's an issue where somebody writes something and somebody gets sued. So let's say you write a blog post and somebody sues for libel. Is there, I assume that they just mark everybody they can on the lawsuit, right? Like sue whoever created it, whoever owns it, whoever's website is on. Like I assume they're just going to name everybody. But is there any way in terms of protecting yourself and your company that marketers need to be aware of in that situation? Like, do they have any issues with, the content that they put out? And let's say the company gives them false information to put out and then they put it out. Like, how do marketers protect themselves in situations like that?
In situations like that, it'd have to be false information that the client gave you. If you went on a website and got false information and then put it out under your client's name, the liability would probably still come to you because it wasn't your client who gave you that information. But you can easily put language into contracts that says any information you provide, it'll be warranted by you as being true and factual, and any liability that comes from that will be warranted.
Right. There's so much that we don't understand about some of this area. This is such a vast area. So Dan, you have a question?
Yeah, we've always told clients you own everything we create, even way back in my film and television and corporate and all that. And you'd be surprised / no, we wouldn't as marketers, that they are always stunned like, whoa, really? Okay, awesome. And in video, there is some licensing that you can do if you want to try and make some extra money off clients. But like it's been our ace up the sleeve. Like, by the way, if you work with us, you own everything, when they owned everything at the end anyway, essentially. So we've leveraged that quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like it would be
This
not
market
great for client
intent.
relationships. I'm sorry, go ahead.
You had something.
I was thinking it's not great for client relationships if they don't understand on the front end, and then you retain ownership on the back end and then try to, charge them extra, like you're saying, like the license, or, if you're not clear, because generally speaking, people want to own the content. And so being upfront about that, I think just from a relationship standpoint as well, is only going to help. It doesn't, make sense to not be clear with people about that.
And I think that is what most people intend, is that for the person who wrote the check to own it at the end of the day. However, just be clear that the law says that that is not the way it works unless there's something in writing. What you said to your client doesn't matter. This is one of the really weird areas. This and real estate law, copyright and real estate, the two where in writing is very important.
Right. So you guys see why we have Richard in the group, because all this is so applicable to everything that we do, because you don't want to get in trouble at the end of the day, right? You don't want to get your clients in trouble at the end of the day. So great. Any other thoughts or questions for Richard?
If you take it one more layer deep, if as an agency you don't have it in writing that the work for hire is owned by the agency, you cannot transfer rights to your clients. So everything we do is in writing and with our vendors, contractors, because we have to own it, because we, like you, Dan, everything gets transferred to our clients. So anyway, I just wanted to say it could be really bad if an agency, and I think this actually happens a lot, they don't own the work. And then they're saying, in the end, it's transferred to the client. Well, there would be a problem because there's not an alignment. So,
Well,
It's not an issue till it's a really big issue, right? It's not a small
right.
thing if that becomes a problem. Now it's a really big problem. So awesome. Thank you, Kriston. Thank you, Richard. So Dan, you want to share your tip and introduce yourself?
So every year, there's a company called Wistia that I love. Every year they put out a state of video report, and it's not just them. They always include other large companies, so they see millions and millions and millions of videos and how businesses are using them, and then put out this great report. Also, it's always colorful and fun, and not like here's data. So it's great. So last year when it came out, I was like, man, a lot of these data points support what we already teach. I should use it to kind of give some validity to what we're saying. So I made a bunch of content. It blew away all of our other content. So a couple weeks ago, the 2025 report came out, and we were already ready. So we scheduled about 20 pieces. If anyone checks me out on LinkedIn, last week, this week, and next week, every day, Monday through Friday, is our short little 45 to 60-second clip of something from this report. But the thing that struck me the most, outside of video retention being way down over the last year, which is not surprising, and it's why we tell people it's really important how you look and sound, because we're capturing attention, was this one that I want to share real quick. And not too many things surprised me. And I think that this actually did. So I was like, oh, I got to share this real quick. So this is play rate and average engagement percentages. And this is placement. So we're looking at a website. And if this works here, this is the one that I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And then I started going through all the websites of all the clients that I could readily get to, including my own website. And I'm like, none of us have this. We should probably test this. And as soon as we could, we started testing and started seeing very easily measurable results. Like, hey, I was on your contact page. I saw that video. That made sense to me, on a sales call or a strategy call or something like that. And the part that really blew me away is that this is a homepage. So our engagement's still good, but the average play rate is half, just over half, which means, this is a place that's worth taking advantage of. So every time we see a stat like this, we're like, okay, why? And we don't always have the answers, but as creative people doing this for a long time, we're like, why? And then it hit me. So the video I made about this that came out last week, I'm like, it makes sense, right? If someone's leaning in far enough to go all the way to your contact page, they might click on a video that's like, oh, what are these people about? And watching it halfway makes sense too, because homepage makes sense to watch halfway at least, because you want to know what's going on. But now I'm going to get a hold of you and there's more info. I'm probably going to engage with this pretty well too. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. It's a pretty quick win. The testing we did on one client site and our site was just this. It was, we use software called Tela, kind of like Loom. We just fire it up, hit a button, say, hey, this contact form is going to lead you to this. You can expect this, and like, see you on the call. And that's it. And it still made a difference. So something to think about. And then in the chat, I just put the link to the report. It's free. And then to Wistia, if you ever want to check it out, they got a free level on Wistia that we use. That's got a lot of tools before you even have to pay. So pretty good tool for video. And that report's just got a ton of really fascinating information in it.
That's so great. And I'm curious too, if people are so tired of trying to reach somebody and then they get the AI chat or, all this AI takes over and so you don't actually reach a human. And so if you have a video that says, hey, you're going to talk to this person within the company or what the process is, I think maybe that makes them a little more excited to engage with the company too, because they know they're not going to get just tossed around, by AI.
Yeah. Yeah. Expectation setting is huge in our business for sure. And one of the things that we identified was that the fact that we have a client portal when you work with us and it's dedicated and it's easy to use, and we've worked so hard to make everything really simplistic that people were surprised and delighted with that. And then we're like, well, instead of it being a surprise, how about we talk about it before it happens? And some of the, again, this is only a few weeks old, but some of the instant feedback we got through a couple strategy calls was like, oh, I saw the video, it was nice to know what was going to happen. Is that surprise can be moved up the line a little bit and then go, whoa, that's what I can expect. Maybe I will. So yeah, really powerful place to kind of set expectations.
So helpful. Thank you. Thoughts or questions for Dan? It's a really good tip that I think probably most of us weren't aware of. Kriston?
Okay, that's awesome. So love that. But did that say that it was under 2 minutes in length, that video on your contact page?
Average length was, yeah.
Oh, average length. Okay.
And all those are like raw data. They're not like what worked best or whatever. It was just saying that out of all videos studied, the average length was 2 minutes.
Awesome. I mean, I have a friend, Brian, who has a YouTube channel, and about 2 years ago, he has like a handler. He has like 1 million subscribers plus for Moo Moo Math and Science. And they asked him to start writing short content under a minute. And so he's been doing that now for a few years. And what is it that Google owns YouTube, and YouTube is trying to, compete in that. I mean, Google is trying to compete in that arena. Do you think any of that has to do with why those shorter form videos are playing well? And that's question number one. And then question number two is, where do you stream your video content from? What do you recommend?
Yeah, so on the first one, I've always been a proponent of this, and it's with, filmmaking in my background, so I'm biased, but like, I don't think people take enough time to make good videos. More and more people now are making videos, and that's great, and I'm not, poo-pooing on that, but like, it's a lot more work, it's a lot more painful to make a good video. So I don't view like the downturn in retention and stuff like that as attention spans getting shorter. I view it as videos are getting better. And so if you want to get, a little piece of that pie, you need to make a better video. Of course, again, I'm biased. I help people look and sound good. So of course your videos are going to look and sound better if we work together, but it's still like that matters anyway. And then like 4 weeks ago, YouTube announced, we all knew it was coming, but they announced it because they finally got the data in, that television watching of YouTube surpassed mobile. And they're at about 1 billion hours a day. And it makes it easy for us to talk about, like, you might really want to think about looking and sound good now because you're on a bigger screen and you're up there next to HBO and ESPN. So like, it doesn't mean we got to go crazy and have a studio like mine or none of that stuff, but the quality expectations are going up. So I think that's what we're actually seeing. And then what was the second question? I'm terrible at retaining too.
Oh, if you are posting videos, where should you post them on YouTube and stream them from there? Or do you recommend somewhere else?
Oh, I go native everywhere. And it was mentioned earlier, everyone hates links. And you can just see it in video. The video analytics are so good nowadays, you can just see it. So a long time ago, we quit posting YouTube links anywhere. And the first place was websites, because someone will watch my video, maybe be intrigued, and then see monster trucks and dragons and go off into YouTube land, and we lose them. And then second was, just having control over video and what's going on. And then, of course, things like Wistia and stuff like that give us all kinds of branding tools. So now we can put the video there. We can pause in the middle, ask for your name and email if you want to see the rest of it. There's all kinds of stuff built in you can do to kind of get leads and stuff if they're already choosing to watch. So I love to host somewhere that's not YouTube unless you need to be on YouTube. Like we have a channel and we have to put our videos there. And then the next thing we stopped doing was putting any YouTube links anywhere, because you would see where they came from in your analytics. It'd be like, oh, 15 people watched this video from LinkedIn, and you would watch that like push die. And it makes sense once you kind of figure it out through going through your own analytics. Oh, yeah, because they didn't come to YouTube. So they
Right.
didn't see ads, they didn't click on other videos or whatever. They came through a portal, watched a single video, and YouTube's like, we don't care about them. They're not on our platform. And simultaneously, LinkedIn was like, don't send people other places. We're going to show that to less people. So we go natively everywhere that we post. And nowadays with the tools and stuff that we have, it's not that painful. So we just go straight up in every platform that we use instead of hosting anywhere. But if we do host, it's generally Wistia, just because there's so many tools. So if you're going to host a video, you might as well have some extra resources to try and capture a lead or get some more information.
So Dan, you're saying that instead of putting something on YouTube or your website, like if you're going to post something on LinkedIn, you'd post the actual video on LinkedIn.
100% every
Okay.
time.
Yeah.
And I'm an optimistic realist. Like, I hope for the best, but I don't always expect it. So we're playing by all these rules, and I don't want anyone ever to, because I'm not a big fan of like, you got a smartphone in your pocket, that's $1,000 camera, just make video. Yes, if that's your only option, then I'm on board. I'm going to help you, whatever. But if that's not your only option, please don't do that. It's the same thing with posting videos. It's like, if all you have is YouTube, please use it, because video hosting, if you've ever checked out pricing on it, is extremely expensive still. So if YouTube's willing to do it for free just because they show some ads, that's great. But if you do have 20 bucks a month in your budget, don't give them all the traffic. Let's, control it ourselves. So yeah, I'm native across the board, and anytime a client can pull that off, that's the strategy we put in place.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely changed. People are not wanting links to go anywhere. So you just miss all
Mhm.
that traffic. It's just such a different game now. So great. Awesome. Well, thank you. Great tips. I think that's a huge topic that's of interest to us because video is such a huge thing for marketing. That's great.
I got a question for Dan. I know you still playing around with it, especially on the contact page. My thing is the type of videos. When you're going to start playing around with that? Are you going to look at? I know you have a video saying, this is what you're going to expect. Sign, right here. But are you going to play around with either add an additional a testimonial 1 week or 1 month, or are you going to try with a another demo reel or whatever? But are you looking to play around with that? Because that's what I'm curious about.
Absolutely, yeah. So because it's like what we do is so meta. We have an editing team, and I also am a professional. So like, they're all the tools and resources are like built in. We do try things a lot more than other businesses because we can relatively fast. So one of the first things that we did just on the initial was we use Notion to run our entire business. So like, we have a Notion page, that's your client portal. You see a dashboard. It's very clean and easy to use. And that's where we live together as a client and a service provider. I showed that. So I showed a generic one, what it looks like, what the expectations are, how it kind of feels. I didn't go top to bottom through exactly how to use it. But just saying things like, you can sign up in 2 seconds, it's free, you don't got to worry about it, and we'll show you everything and how to do it if you work with us. And then just showing some of those was just as good as like a how-to video on YouTube. So I think because we could come out of the gate with a really good looking video, that helps, and it leaves a ton of space for exploration, like you're saying, because depending on what you do for work, I could see a ton of different kinds of videos going in there. And it could be showing off part of your personality, right? Like, I think there's so much seriousness everywhere that if your business allows for a little bit of humor, maybe you could show some scene of, your office and kind of chaos and everyone moving everywhere and whatever. And like, even though, we're really busy, we're really focused on you when it's time to work with you. Like, there's so much that you could do so quickly to let people know, like, oh, not only am I in safe hands, but it looks like maybe they're kind of fun to work with or whatever the case. So I think because they've already decided I want to contact these people, it's a great place to play. And like you said, maybe even switch out videos every so often, because you could tell the same story 100 different ways and just keep it fresh.
So great. Thanks, Dan. Try some different ones and report back to us and let us know how it goes. We'd love to hear an update on that. So awesome. Thank you. Great. All right. I'm going to wrap us up for the last tip today. So my name is Stephanie Richards, and my company is SowGrow Public Relations, and we help B2B companies get exposure in the media. So one thing that I feel like I've noticed, especially in the last few weeks, I feel like I'm working with companies and I feel like they don't have business plans. And I feel like they don't have marketing plans. And I would love to see if you guys are feeling the same thing. I mean, I'm talking companies that are making millions of dollars. And when I work with a company, I have to be able to get media coverage for them, and that is very difficult to do. And so I'm very careful who I work with. And there are companies that I have literally told that they are not ready for public relations yet. And, some of the reasons include that they don't have a marketing plan. And a lot of people come to PR and they say, we want to get out there, we want media exposure. And so I ask them, what is your marketing plan? Where does this fit within the marketing plan? And they say, well, we don't really have a marketing plan, or they're just kind of doing things ad hoc, and they just want PR to carry the weight of that. PR really is a piece of marketing, but you really need to understand your whole marketing plan. And then you really need to have a business plan. And again, it shocks me that I work with companies that make millions of dollars and they don't have a business plan. See, I see heads nodding. Like, this is not just it's just shocking to me. Like, how can you do this? So, and I was working with a company, and sometimes people, when you don't have a business plan or you don't have a marketing plan, then when you come to do PR, you're investing efforts in something that may not be worth your time and money. And I had a company that was interested in doing a campaign for public relations, and they were giving away millions of dollars of a product. And I started asking them about a product, and I started to find out, well, the product that they're giving away, they're discontinuing. And so they wanted to do an entire media campaign around this product that if you click on their website to buy, you can no longer buy it. And so I started asking them questions about their marketing plan and their business plan. And, where do you want to go with this? Because if you spend time and money promoting this product and it gets out there, now what? You've put all this effort into something that you're not even going to have as your long-term goal for sales. So all that to say, I will often talk people out of doing PR before I talk them into doing PR if they're not prepared, because it's just, you can't do public relations unless you have a solid business plan and a solid marketing plan. So I have 7 questions to ask to align your PR efforts with your business goals, because that's really where we work with the executive level, and we work with the business goals, and we start with where do you want to go with your company? And then we have public relations support that. So we really start with what are your revenue targets and what is your marketing sales plan to reach them? Because really the money comes in the door at sales. Like that, if you don't have a strong sales team, then, marketing can only do so much, right? So being able to have the sales support. And so we really, really want to come alongside a sales team and be the sales team that goes before the sales team. So we're the awareness piece that's basically at the top of the funnel, if you call it a funnel. I know funnels are a little passé now, but let's talk about the top where people discover. So we want to figure out, what does the sales team want to accomplish and how can we pave that road for them? So that way, when those people are ready to purchase, they've already gone down the funnel. We've helped get the right people in the right markets, promoting the right products or services with the right messaging that makes sense for getting to those goals. The next thing is, what audiences do we need to reach to achieve our revenue targets? So there are times where you need to do a different plan for public relations than you may have for your business, your overall business plan. Like, let's say your revenue targets are something around reaching a new market. We may need to do public relations efforts just around that particular market for a season just to get traction in that area. So, if you're over here doing regular PR over, let's say something that's a regular audience for you, you may not be reaching your sales goals because you may want to break into this new market. So just aligning on what is the audience that you want to reach with PR and how does that tie back to your revenue goals and what you're actually trying to achieve. And then I think also talking about where in the buying process do we need to allocate our focus and our efforts. So are you trying to get overall brand awareness in front of people that may not have ever heard of you? Are you trying to engage interested audiences who may know about you but may not necessarily be convinced? Are you farther down the funnel where you're trying to focus your efforts on converting prospects? Are you trying to increase loyalty with existing customers, or are you trying to build more referrals? And so just understanding your marketing plan and your business plan, we're able to see, well, where do we need to invest PR efforts within that buying process so that we're not trying to be spread too thin. We can really focus on where you're trying to grow. Maybe you're trying to grow your referrals. Let's do that. Maybe you need the brand awareness. Let's do that. But if we don't know, we may not be focusing on the right area. And then what marketing tactics and channels will we use and how do they work together to support our business goals? So on the public relations side of things, I like to understand what advertising are you doing? What are you doing for search? What are you doing for social media? What are you doing for email marketing? Are you doing text messaging? Are you doing events? Are you doing affiliate marketing, influencers, public, are you guys doing videos, whatever it may be, because public relations needs to work together with all of those things. And, let's say you're doing advertising. I love to know what platforms you're advertising on because we can come by and support that with editorial content or social media content. So it makes sense to align those efforts. Let's say you're investing in ads on a magazine. Let's try to get content in there on the editorial side because now people are seeing it in multiple places or multiple times in the same place versus us reaching out to magazines that you don't have ads in. And then, you're splitting your audience and you're not getting multiple touch points. So again, just thinking in terms of, where are you investing your dollars? Are you heavily on advertising? Are you heavily more on email marketing side? And then how does PR fit within that? And not just, keeping PR separate. And then what is our budget for our marketing efforts, including PR, and how should it be allocated? I think understanding what the investment of public relations is and how does that fit within everything else. I always tell people don't put all of your eggs in the PR basket because PR is really the top of the funnel and it's really about brand awareness most of the time. And so if you are investing all of your eggs in that basket, a lot of times it takes a long time to build the results because people have to go through that funnel. And so you may need quicker results with advertising or, with events or speaking or something along those lines. And so understanding what is your budget and how are you allocating it? And then where does PR fit within that? And then we start to talk about, okay, what are the PR tactics and channels that most effectively reach the audiences within the budget? So now we're getting really specific to PR. And is it speaking? Is it media relations? Is it YouTube? All the different things. And then how do we tie PR results back to revenue generation? So again, we're coming full circle. So we'll do PR, but how do we track what sales actually come in the door? And is that aligning with your business plan and your marketing plan? So this is my little soapbox for today, that any businesses that want to engage in PR or marketing in general, you need to have your business plan and you need to have a marketing plan that includes all of the different areas. So are you guys having any experiences with this? Do you guys feel like you're working with companies that are not necessarily ready to do marketing? All right, I see Dan and then I see Kriston.
Just to commiserate, man. I put in the chat if I had hair, I would have pulled it out by now. Like, I I think it's because we've graduated over time with higher end clients that it hits us so hard now. Because you see those $5 million companies, and you're like, wait, what? Like, I got my stuff together and you don't? That's crazy. In strategy, we ask very upfront before we take any money or anything, where does this kind of output fit into what you're currently doing? And we get like, oh man, I don't know. It's like, holy crap. And then on the editing side, we need all of your brand guidelines. We need your fonts, colors, any materials that we're going to use in your videos for animation, whatever the case may be. And when we're like, hey, throw us over your brand guidelines, just want to make sure that we're a good fit, you're a good fit, da da da, before we take money. And they're like, yeah, we don't really have, we got like a Google Drive folder with stuff in it. And I'm like, huh. And I don't expect anyone to be perfect or have everything in place. But when there's nothing, I'm always just kind of like, yeah, I don't want to create your marketing for you, your plan. And I don't want to create all of your assets for your video for you, guessing at what I'm doing. So like, go do your homework and come back. Ugh.
Right.
Crazy.
Absolutely. And Kriston, I think I saw Trenton a hand up.
Well, your first comment, very first was like, a marketing funnel is passe. I wanted you to dig a little bit deeper into that and tell me what is current and where you see that going.
Right. So the marketing funnel, a lot of people talk about how people jump around the different areas of marketing. So, let's say you read an article in a magazine and then, maybe you see somebody on social media, or maybe you are searching something and somebody comes up in search. So, some people assume that like it's not necessarily a linear process where people just go down through the funnel. I still think that the funnel has value. I think it describes the process fairly well in terms of somebody finds out about you, and then they start to take actions where, they're searching for you, and then they sign up for something and they want information from you, and then they actually go through the sales process. So I still think the funnel is valid, but I think of it more in terms of like concentric circles. So I think of PR as like the biggest circle, and PR basically touches everything, right? Because it's your company's reputation, it's the face of your company out there, and you're popping up in places where people that don't know you can see you, but you're also popping up in front of people that do know you, and you're reinforcing that relationship. So I see that. And then I see advertising as like the next circle because you have more control over it. And, you can think of it in terms of like, people will notice your ads, and now they're able to control how often you see ads because you have more control over advertising. So, you're able to get people a little bit farther down into the sales process. And then, something like search is a little bit smaller of a circle because people are actually starting to take action. But I do feel like people kind of go in and out where it's not necessarily like a straight linear thing where, they may kind of bounce in between all of them. But yeah, and did you have a second part of that question, Kriston? I feel like there was a second part and I'm forgetting what.
I mean, what is the new one? And you said 2 concentric circles. You talked about what you think is the new marketing funnel.
Yeah, so I see it more like concentric circles in that where I feel like the funnel, it's kind of like, okay, you've left the PR side of it, you've left the SEO, and like you're moving down. I feel like you're in all of them. It's just at what point are you in, it's like some of them you get smaller and smaller into the sales, but like you're still engaged in the PR, you're still engaged in the SEO. Whereas I feel like this funnel, I feel like it kind of assumes like, okay, well, you've gone through that. So like you're no longer involved in content marketing or you're no longer following us. It's almost like you kind of graduate out of the levels. But again, I think it's a funnel. I think a lot of it's semantics. But I just think we don't want to ignore the levels that people have already gone through and assume that just because they've gotten to the bottom, there's no going back through it, I think is what the funnel misses. So awesome. Any other thought? Trenton, did you have your hand up? I think you had a comment.
Just real quick, just going off of cementing the fact that, before they bring somebody like you in, have a business plan, have a marketing plan, because I thought of you, one of my associations that I'm on the board of, they was like, oh, I think we need PR, we need to do this. And I was like, I have someone. Then they just start listing, the stuff they want. I was like, you're not ready. What they're asking for, they want you to come and save them. They don't have a marketing plan or a business plan. They just want PR to come in, take this and make something of it. And I was like, you have to have a formal process, where are we going, how we're doing it. So like you said, I see it all the time. They ask you to do something. There's no plan. They just have a pile of stuff and saying, you build this together and give us the results.
Right. And that's why I think it's so great to be in a group like this, because then I can go back and I can say, okay, you need to go and, talk to Kriston and get your branding in order. Because I always say you have to look good before I put you out there, right? And so you have to get your messaging and all of that together before. And so, and then if, video is a part of it, we've Trenton and Dan, and, even before that, we need Richard involved because Richard needs to make sure we're not going to get in trouble. So that's why I love this group, because I feel like when we meet a company that maybe not ready, we can help them to get ready if we all combine forces. And then, they're ready for whatever it is that we can help them do. Out of respect for time, it is 11:59. So I'm going to let you guys go so that we can all get to whatever 11 o'clocks we have. But please, please, please come with your tips and submit your tips now. So that way we know you guys are going to present next time, and join us for the May 20th meeting. Thank you guys so much. This has been a great discussion, and I look forward to seeing you guys next month.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the SowGrow Marketing Council podcast. Want to be part of our next meeting? Visit SowGrowPR.com. That's SowGrowPR.com, and click on the Marketing Council tab to sign up for our next event. Until next time, keep growing.